Hello everyone, welcome back. So I'm working on a Glock 21 frame here, and I'm trying to get this trigger housing to fit in there. And the problem that we're having is when everything is pushed down, you can see how there's like a little bit of a gap here, right? See that little gap here? Let me get behind the camera, make sure you guys can see it. There it is. So you see this, so when I push this down all the way, you can see how you got this little gap here where my fingernail is, right here. Okay, so I'm not the first person to experience this. This is a common problem that people sometimes run into. Okay, so when I take the housing out and I push down on the rails go, the frame, well, there you go. See the frame hole and the rails, everything matches up okay. When I drop the housing in and push down on it, I can see that I got a little bit of a flash. So basically the housing doesn't seem to be going in deep enough, and the reason is this little lip that's on the back of the frame over here. Okay, all right, you guys can see it. There's a little bit of a lip that sticks out. If you take the rail and you put the rail in there and you look over here, you'll see that the little lip, right, with the rails inserted, there's a little lip that hangs out over here. So what's happening is this part of the housing over here is hitting that lip. Okay, so there's basically one of two ways to fix this. I'm either gonna shave the housing back here to make it fit into the frame, or I have to shave the frame in there a little bit to make it fit the housing. Okay, now the conventional wisdom is that you modify the part, not the frame, right? Not the gun. Okay, so that's the conventional wisdom. However, this part is correct, because I had a lone wolf housing. It had the same problems with the lone wolf housing. I actually did shave the trigger, the housing over here, and I did get it to fit perfectly. I was still having problems with the lone wolf despite that. So here's the thing. Now that I have an OEM, because this lower parts kit is OEM, instead of shaving the housing, which is Glock OEM, and I know it's correct, I'm actually going to shave the frame. Part of my thinking is that right now it's really hard to get Glock OEM parts. Okay, so this lower parts kit was like $150. I mean, this entire frame I think it was like $130. So here's the thing. This is a Glock 21 frame. I have a lot of these, okay? I don't have a lot of these, okay? So at the moment, this is the more disposable part. So that's why I elect to shave this part instead of that part. So I understand the technically correct thing to do is to shave this part. However, this is Glock OEM, so that we know this is we know this is correct. And I know that these are expensive and hard to get, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shave the frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave the rails, the rear rails, in the frame, because that's now going to serve as a guide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little pointy Dremel piece here. I'll put it on a low setting, and I'm going to go in there. I'm going to just take it down a little bit at a time. Push down with my finger. Do a little bit on the other side. Okay, so I'm leaving the rail in there because I don't care if I hit the rail in there with the Dremel piece, it doesn't matter because that's not where the slide runs. The slide runs up here. So I don't care if I scratch that up in there on the inside. Get that out. Push that in. All right, still not sitting flush. So let's take a little bit more out. So yeah, this is something you gotta do a little bit at a time so that you don't go too far. And like I said, there's some experimentation involved here. I'm more willing to experiment with the frame right now than I am willing to experiment with Glock OEM parts. To put this at a slightly higher speed. Test this out, see if we are flush. Okay, came down a little bit, not quite enough. A little bit more than that. That doesn't do it. I'm going to have to get something finer, something a little bit more pointy. Okay, yeah, you know what? When I push down on it, it's almost there. Because the pins are going to pull it down a little bit when I put them in. We'll give it one more pass, and then I'm just going to put the pins in and see how this works. Oh, by the way, this time I didn't put the rails in because I'm trying to get a little bit closer. Okay, I got that flush now. Okay, so taking the rails out to get a little bit closer if you need to. All right, so I'm going to pause this camera. I'm going to put the pins in. And we'll see how this works. All right, well, so I put the pins in. And there's still a tiny little gap over here. Tiny little, so it's not really pulling it down tight the way it's supposed to. And the result is that won't go in. I did manage to get it in to go in by squeezing this thing down really tight. But that's the general problem with this, is that you got that little bit of gap there. So I got to work on this. I may just go ahead and just build another frame. This way I have two frames as a point of, you know, to compare back and forth. But yeah, that's an issue that you guys may run into with these Glock 21s. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. For me, this is a work in process. This is my first G21 build, so there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I have experienced this one time before with a lone wolf frame that utilizes a Gen 4 trigger housing. Never quite got that working right, but hopefully I'll get this one sooner or later. I have a lot more. Like I said, I got another frame I'm going to try out, see how that works. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, I got it in with a little bit of finagling. I'll tell you guys what happened with this. So I actually managed to even fire a couple of shots with it. So now this is exactly where I left off before. I didn't do any additional filing or sanding. So I'm still having a bit of a problem getting it in there, right? It's not quite going in there. So what I did, kind of like as an experiment, I took the pin out. All right, so I pulled the rear pin out, and then what I was able to do is, if I pull the rear pin out, I can get the slide to go on there. In fact, it's kind of already started breaking in, because the last couple of times I did this, I actually had to push down on the housing and pull this back. But now it actually seems to slowly be breaking in, where it'll just go in on its own, right? And so the first time, right, what I did is I from the position that the slide was not going in, I was holding on to the housing, pushed it back, basically pushing down on the housing with my thumb, pushed this back into battery. Then I took the rear pin and I put it in after the fact. I have to pull this down a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the pin in from the other side and kind of allowing this thing to angle down, pull it down a little bit. Go in. That's how I got it in before. I realize this is not like the technically correct way to do it, but why aren't you going in now? It went in before. Before I was actually able just to push it in with my thumb and it went in. Let's try it from the other side. Sometimes if it doesn't work on one side, there it goes. See, it wasn't going on one side, but if you push it in from the other side, it goes in really easy. There it goes. Okay, there you go. So, function checks pretty good. I shot this before. I was able to fire like 6 rounds. Worked right off the bat. I did get one jam. It was a feeding problem, but I haven't even oiled the gun yet. I mean, the gun is like bone dry right now. So obviously it's got to work its way through that breaking period. I have not put in the slide catch. Lately what I have found is I don't put the slide catch in until I know that the gun is working properly. Just because a lot of times getting the trigger pin out with the slide catch in there, it just involves a little extra work. So there's no point in putting the slide catch in there until you know the gun's working. This way you can get the trigger pin out like really easy. So this is my first Glock 21. Okay, I don't own any Glock 21s, not even the factory. I really never considered even buying or owning a Glock 21 until Biden said I shouldn't have them. And I said, okay, that means I gotta build and buy, I gotta build as many of these as possible. So not only did I build this Glock 21, I'm also gonna do a Glock 20. because of Biden. Alright, so we do have a failure to feed. Fabric just needs a little bit of oil. In fact, let's oil this. Hold on, let me pause you guys. Let me go get a little gun to go. Get a little gun oil. All right, so got a little gun oil. We got a little file there. Oh, I was gonna say let me lock the gun open, but I can't lock it open because I don't have the slide catch installed yet. So spray a little bit here on the rails. A little bit on the barrel. I'm not worried about overhauling it right now. Just trying to get this thing working. See how we do that. You guys in the camera. Didn't eject. And that time just didn't lock open because there's no slide catching there. Let me do this. Let me see. Yeah, it is a little tight. I can feel it as I'm pushing it forward. So it's definitely got to break in a little bit, but we do have a working gun now that we can work with. Something I did not do. Basically, let's work on a barrel slide lockup. That's basically over here. There's a little. Sometimes basically that's where your lockup is, and usually there's a lot of resistance there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna file that out just a little bit. Take my glasses off. So I can see better. Yeah, I need those to see far away, not close. But this is not a working gun. This is something that I can work on, and this is not just a matter of breaking it in and fine tuning it. So yeah, the Lone Wolf trigger that I got, that went back. They gave me a partial refund on that. It was OC custom triggers. They gave me a partial refund on that because I had basically done some modification to the triggers. Basically that area in the back where I said earlier, in order to get it to fit into the frame. That's why, I'd rather just modify the frame because the frame is actually cheaper right now, and I got lots of them, and then I'm planning to get a lot more before August. So that is the disposable part right now. This part right here could be if you don't do this, you could be like, your break-in period is going to be a lot longer. Okay, so that's good. With this. So this has what we call an uncaptured recoil spring, right? Which I do not like, but what you gotta do with this is there's a hole in here, right? There's a hole here. Basically, we gotta pull the spring back. Where are you? Oh, this one's too big. I gotta get a different one. Hold on, let me pause you guys again. Okay, so I was saying this is an uncaptured recoil spring. So there's a hole here where you pass this thing through. Put this here. Pull this back. Careful that it doesn't go flying or hit you in the eye. Take that, put that through here, hold this down, pull the Allen key out, and that's how you get that in. Okay. Let's see if we'll be able to get it in now. Good. Without moving, without having to get that pin out. There we go. Okay, it's starting to break in. A little bit more gun oil on my. feels a little tight. The rails are pulling down a little bit tight. I'm not sure if I want to take this off. I mean, I may end up filing I'm probably going to file down the rails a little bit, like just put them on sandpaper. It feels like the back is a little bit tight. So, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just want to put a couple of rounds through this thing, see if it worked itself out before I start tinkering with changing things. You know, I don't want to change things until I know what I'm doing for sure. So it looks like I'm going to be buying a lot more 45 ACP ammo now. Yeah, before I was shooting brass. Now let's try some Tula. Do not eject. Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, see, it didn't go into battery. I gotta file the rails a little bit. Steel case is giving me a little bit more of a problem. Get the magazine out. Yeah, so, but this is now at a level where I can work with. I know exactly what I gotta do. Let's see if that comes off. So what I'm gonna do is, actually it feels like it's pulling down. Actually, I'm gonna pull the rails out, and I'm gonna get underneath the rails a little bit because it feels like the rails are pulling down a little too tight, which is probably the reason why I'm probably getting a little resistance across the top over here. So I'm gonna take the rails out and get underneath them. I'm gonna get on the underside of the rails with the Dremel, you know, both sides, which will reduce the downward pulling pressure on the back, because I have a feeling that slide is running very tight across the top here. But we got a couple of shots off. This is at a point where I know it's going to be working. This is at a point where it just needs minor tweaking and debugging. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, this is my first G21. Thanks, Biden, for telling me to build it. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you all soon.